So, stomach acid. What's the first thing that pops in your head? For most of us, it's probably that awful feeling, heartburn, that uncomfortable, burning sensation that has us all reaching for the antacids. But what if I told you that this acid, this internal fire, is actually one of the most vital and misunderstood features of our bodies? Let's dive into the truth behind this necessary burn. Right, so what's the deal here? Is stomach acid our friend, or is it our enemy? Is it some kind of design flaw that just causes us pain? Or is it an absolutely essential tool for our survival? In this explainer, we're going to break down the powerful and honestly pretty surprising roles of this so-called necessary burn. And look, let's be real. For millions of people, the experience is, well, it's purely negative. I'm talking about conditions like acid reflux and GERD. They've given stomach acid a terrible reputation. It can feel like your own body is attacking itself. But the reality is so much more interesting than that.
Okay, let's start with its most famous job. Because that intense burn, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's what turns your stomach into this incredible chemical reactor, a total digestive powerhouse.
So this stuff, gastric acid, it's basically hydrochloric acid, is unbelievably potent. We're talking a pH between 1.5 and 3.5. Now to put that in perspective, that's about 1,000,000 times more acidic than our blood. And that crazy intense environment, it's exactly what we need to get the whole digestive process started.
So how does it work exactly? Well, this is where it gets really cool, especially when it comes to protein. It's a three-step process. First, the acid denatures the proteins from your food. Think of it like unfolding a complex piece of origami so you can see all the parts. This makes them vulnerable. Second, it activates an enzyme called pepsin. Pepsin is just hanging out, totally inactive, until the acid flips its on switch. And finally, that now active pepsin gets to work, chopping up those proteins into smaller bits. And yeah, the stomach only does about 10 to 15% of the heavy lifting for protein digestion. But this first step, it is absolutely critical for everything that comes next.
Okay, you're probably thinking, if this acid is so powerful, how on earth does the stomach not just, digest itself? And the answer is just brilliant. The stomach lining is coated in this thick layer of mucus that's loaded with bicarbonate. It creates this perfectly neutral little safe zone right up against the stomach wall, protecting it from that acid bath that's raging just millimeters away. It's an incredible design. But here's the thing, digestion? That's only half the story. That same incredibly powerful acid plays a second, and you could argue even more critical role. It's like a frontline soldier for our immune system.
All right, get ready for a fact that might just blow your mind. When you look at the acidity of our stomachs, we're actually more like vultures than we are like rabbits. Yeah, scavengers. This gives us a huge clue about our evolutionary past. Our ancestors needed some serious protection from whatever they were eating.
And this chart really drives the point home. Look at this. Our gastric pH is around 1.5. That puts us right there with scavengers like vultures and carnivores like lions. Now look at herbivores. Their stomachs are way less acidic. Why? Because they're at a much lower risk of eating nasty pathogens. So what does this tell us? Our stomach acid is a powerful, powerful ecological filter. It's a gatekeeper, protecting us from what's in our diet.
And believe me, it is wildly effective. Research has shown that as soon as the pH in there drops below 3.0, that gastric juice basically sterilizes our food. It can kill most of the bacteria we swallow in under 15 minutes. It's our first and maybe our strongest defense against getting sick from what we eat.
Okay, so it digests our food and it protects us from germs. What else could it possibly do? Well, there's a third job that's super important but often gets completely overlooked. Our stomach acid is basically the key that unlocks a ton of life's essential building blocks from our food.
You see, a lot of the vital micronutrients we need are kind of locked up tight inside the food we eat. Stomach acid is what pries them loose. It sets them free so our bodies can actually absorb them. We're talking about essential minerals like iron, calcium, magnesium, zinc, and even crucial vitamins like B12. Without enough acid, it's like having the key but not being able to turn it in the lock.
And this is no small thing. As researchers put it, this connection between our stomach and these micronutrients is so often forgotten, but it can have a huge impact on a massive number of people. Think about it. You could be suffering from nutrient deficiencies and have no idea the root cause is actually in your stomach. So, this all leads us to a very modern problem. In our race to manage the symptoms of what we think is too much acid, we've accidentally created this huge, often invisible problem of having too little.
So what happens when that essential inner fire starts to go out? Yeah, there's a medical term for it, hypochlorhydria. It's pretty simple, really. It just means your stomach isn't making enough acid, and your fasting pH level creeps up above that critical 3.0 mark.
So, why is this happening to so many people? Well, it usually boils down to three main things. First, as we get older, our stomach acid production just naturally slows down. Second, there's a nasty little bacterium called H. pylori that's a huge cause. And third, the really widespread long-term use of acid-suppressing drugs, things like PPIs.
And just to give you an idea of how big a deal that one bacteria is, get this. Helicobacter pylori infects more than half of the entire world's population. It's one of the top reasons people get chronic gastritis, which directly messes with the stomach's ability to make acid.
So what are the consequences of all this? Well, it's basically the exact opposite of all the amazing things we just talked about. When your acid is low, your defense against pathogens gets weaker, so your risk of infection goes up. Protein digestion gets all messed up, which can lead to that awful bloating and discomfort. And of course, all those essential nutrients stay locked away, which can lead to some really serious deficiencies. Which brings us all the way back to where we started, stomach acid. It's clearly not our foe, right? It's a powerful guardian. It digests for us, it defends us, and it nourishes us. And that leaves us with a really important question to chew on. In our perfectly understandable quest to tame the burn, are we accidentally leaving the gates to our own health wide open and completely undefended?